let's take a look at the psychological adaptations to stress. There are two major psychological responses to stress. These include anxiety and grief. Let's first discuss anxiety. Anxiety is a diffuse apprehension that is vague in nature and is associated with feelings of uncertainty and helplessness. There are 4 levels to anxiety. These include mild anxiety, moderate anxiety, severe anxiety, and panic anxiety. Mild anxiety is seldom a problem. It prepares us for action. It sharpens our senses, increases motivation for productivity, increases our perceptual field, and results in a heightened awareness of our environment. Learning is also enhanced at this level, and we feel better able to function at our optimal level. At the level of moderate anxiety, our perceptual field diminishes further. The moderately anxious individual is less alert to events occurring within the environment. The individual's attention span and ability to concentrate decreases. Assistance with problem solving may be required. There is increased muscular tension and restlessness is evident. The perceptual field of the severely anxious individual is so greatly diminished that concentration centers on one particular detail only, or many extraneous details. Attention span is extremely limited, and the individual has much difficulty completing even the simplest task. Physical symptoms, such as headaches, palpitations, and insomnia, and emotional symptoms like confusion, dread, and horror may be evident at this level. Discomfort is experienced to the degree that virtually all overt behavior is aimed at relieving the anxiety. At the panic anxiety level, the individual is unable to focus on even one detail within the environment. Misperceptions are common, and a loss of contact with reality may occur. The individual may experience hallucinations or delusions. Behavior may be characterized by wild and desperate actions or extreme withdrawal. Panic anxiety is associated with a feeling of terror, and individuals may be convinced that they have a life-threatening illness or fear they are going crazy or losing control. Prolonged panic attacks can lead to physical and emotional exhaustion and may be life-threatening. At the mild to moderate stages of anxiety, our ego defense mechanisms help us to adapt. Please refer to Table 1.1 of your textbook for ego defense mechanisms. Behavior patterns at the level of severe and panic anxiety include characteristics of neurosis and psychosis. People with neuroses are aware that they're experiencing distress. They're aware that their behaviors are maladaptive. They are unaware of any possible psychological causes of the distress, and they feel helpless to change their situation. They experience no loss of contact with reality. This is in stark contrast to those displaying characteristics of psychosis at the panic level. Some characteristics of psychosis include exhibiting minimal distress, where the emotional tone is flat, bland, or inappropriate. People may be unaware that their behavior is maladaptive, and they may be unaware of any psychological problems they may have, a condition known as anosognosia. People of this level exhibit a flight from reality into a less stressful world, or into one in which they are attempting to adapt. The second main psychological response to stress is grief. Grief is a subjective state of emotional, physical, and social response to the loss of a valued entity. Grief is a response to actual loss, like the death of a family member, perceived loss, like the loss of freedom, or anticipatory loss. In 1969, Kubler-Ross, in her research on terminally ill patients, determined that there were 5 stages to grief: the denial stage, anger stage, bargaining stage, depression, and acceptance.
Daddy says you're rabid. You don't look rabid. Nah. Why'd you have to go get bit? I told you to stay away from the squirrels. If you get through this, I'll never be mad at you again. I'll always be happy with you. I'll clean up after you. I'll do anything. I love you. Fair. I don't want you to die. I'm gonna miss you. I know it's for the best.
The grief response can take from weeks to years. It cannot be hurried. Each individual must be allowed to progress at their own pace.
Hello, it's your wife. Your pet snake died.
Oh no, that's terrible. Oh, man. Norms for the duration of grief tend to be defined by one society, but current research supports that bereavement does not end with a prescribed period of time, and in fact, certain aspects may continue indefinitely in individuals who are otherwise healthy and functioning well. Hello?
Hello, it's me again. Your Aunt Babushka died.
What? Of the grieving process is also affected by the number of recent losses. This is particularly true for people experiencing numerous losses in a relatively short period of time. Hello?
Hello? I forgot to tell you, your Aunt Babushka's great cousin Sam passed away too.
Sam too? Grief accumulates. A type of bereavement overload occurs, which for some individuals presents an impossible task of grief work. Oh man, no. Hello.
Hello. You did not win the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes.
No! No! When an individual is unable to progress through the stages of grief, this leads to maladaptive grief. Maladaptive grief includes prolonged, delayed, and distorted responses. The individual who experiences a distorted response is fixed in the anger stage of grieving. Hey nephew, want a thumb wrestle?
There.
1, 2, 3, 4. I declare a thumb war. Yeah, I'm gonna get you. The prolonged response is characterized by an intense preoccupation with memories of the lost entity for many years after the loss has occurred. Hey Daniel, man, how's it going?
Good.
You want to thumb wrestle? What? Uncle Otis. And finally, in the delayed or inhibited response, the individual becomes fixed in the denial stage of the grieving process. The emotional pain associated with the loss is not experienced, but anxiety disorders like phobias, somatic symptom disorders, or sleeping and eating disorders may be evident. The individual may remain in denial for many years until the grief response is triggered by a reminder of the loss or even by another unrelated loss. I'm sorry, kiddo. He's rabid, and I've got to put him down.
Cujo! Dear boy! Cujo! Cujo, no! No, no!
Thank you for watching this video on an introduction to mental health. Until next time, take care, cousins.